For more than 2 decades, a single event has just haunted a family and, honestly, captivated the nation. It all starts with a young woman in a pretty minor car crash on a snowy New Hampshire road. And it ends with, well, that's the thing. It doesn't really end. So today, we're going to dig into the deeply, deeply unsettling disappearance of Maura Murray and all the questions that are still hanging in the air. I mean, this is the question, right? It's the absolute heart of this whole thing. It just feels impossible, and yet, it's exactly what seems to have happened. How does someone just vanish into the cold night air, leaving behind only a locked car and a mystery that somehow gets deeper and more complicated with every single year that passes? So let's just lay out the bare bones of it. The date is February 9th, 2004. The place? A dark, snowy stretch of Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire. A Saturn sedan is found crashed. The scene is quiet, the car is empty, and its driver, Maura Murray, has seemingly just stepped out of her life and into a 2-decade-long question mark.
But look, to even start to get a handle on what might have happened that night, we have to rewind a little bit. We first have to understand who Maura was, and maybe more importantly, the incredible amount of pressure she was under in the days right before she disappeared.
Because this wasn't just anyone. Maura Murray was bright. She was accomplished. We're talking about a nursing student at UMass, a former cadet at the prestigious West Point Military Academy, and a gifted high school athlete. She was someone with a really, really bright future ahead of her. But the week before she vanished, man, her world was just falling apart. Just look at this timeline. First, she gets this upsetting phone call at her campus job that leaves her totally shaken. Then she finds out her sister has relapsed. And then just 2 days after that, she crashes her dad's car, a mistake that, for her, was a really, really big deal. And hearing it from her family, wow, it just paints such a clear picture of her state of mind. They described her as distraught. Her sister Julie said that Maura just hated to disappoint their dad and was always incredibly hard on herself. So this wasn't just a bad week. It was a total cascade of personal crises.
So all of this pressure, it feels like it all just came to a head on this one fateful night. Let's walk through the timeline of the crash itself, minute by agonizing minute.
Okay, so the clock starts ticking at 7:30 p.m. A local resident hears this loud thud. They look out their window, they see a car up against a snowbank on Route 112. There's a person standing next to it. So they do the right thing. They call 911 to report it. Just a few minutes later, a local school bus driver named Butch Atwood comes across the scene. He pulls over, he asks the young woman, Maura, if she needs help. Now this is where it gets really weird. She tells him she's already called for help, which we know wasn't true, and asks him not to call the police. He drives home, which is just a short distance away, and calls them anyway. And that interaction, that's the last confirmed time anyone ever spoke to Maura Murray. Ever. Then, at 7:46 p.m., the first police officer gets there. Now think about that. It's been only about 16 minutes since that initial 911 call. That is such a tiny window of time for someone to just disappear. And what the officer finds is, well, it's just plain eerie. The car doors are locked. Inside, a box of wine has spilled. But there is no driver. And maybe the most chilling part of all, there are no footprints in the fresh snow leading away from the car. She is simply gone. Okay, so the scene itself is already baffling, right? But once investigators started digging, oh man, the puzzle pieces just get weirder and weirder. And they fuel all these wildly different theories about what could have possibly happened next. On one hand, investigators found all this evidence that suggests Maura wasn't planning to run away forever. She submitted homework just hours before she left. She called about renting a condo. She emailed her professors about taking a week off for a family emergency. She even had the accident forms for her dad's car with her. These just don't feel like the actions of someone who's planning to be gone forever, you know? And this right here, this is one of the biggest contradictions in the whole case. The official police report says her car struck a tree. Simple enough. But a private vehicle expert hired by her family looked at it and said, no way. He concluded the damage wasn't consistent with hitting a tree. And, this is crucial, that the car was still drivable. So if she could have driven away, why didn't she? It completely changes everything. And it just keeps getting stranger. A random Chrysler part was found inside her Saturn. Okay, weird. But then you hear about a suspicious Jeep Grand Cherokee, made by Chrysler, by the way, near the scene, and suddenly that random part doesn't seem so random anymore, does it? Then there's her dorm room, which looked like she was in the middle of unpacking, not packing up to leave. And this one's a big one. Police only searched west of the crash site, back the way she came from, not east, the direction she was actually traveling. It just fuels all this speculation.
So with all these weird clues and not a lot of clear answers from the official investigation, Maura's family started to focus on the evidence that made the most sense to them, and it led them to a really stark and terrifying conclusion.
Her family points to some things that, to them, just look like huge mistakes in the investigation. They claim police never even bothered to contact the condo owner Maura had called. They also say this handwritten phone number found in her car for another condo owner just 25 miles from the crash was never followed up on. To the family, these feel like crucial missed opportunities. Her brother Curtis doesn't mince words. His take is just brutally honest. He thinks she was taken, that she got into a car with the wrong person, and that she is now, most likely, dead. It's just a heartbreaking reality for a family to have to live with. And her brother Fred, he thinks along the same lines. He explains that Maura was a trusting person. And he believes that in that moment of distress, looking for help after the crash, she just put her trust in the absolute wrong person. And her sister Julie, who's done so much to keep this case in the public eye, she really sums up the family's core belief. For her, the fact that no trace of Maura has ever been found, no body, no clothing, nothing, it strongly suggests she didn't just wander off into the woods. She got a ride from that scene, and she met with foul play. 21. Just let that sink in for a second. 21 years. For over 2 decades, her family has been living with this unbelievable uncertainty, just fighting for answers and absolutely refusing to let Maura's memory fade. It's an unimaginable length of time to live in that kind of limbo. And so here we are. After all this time, after all the theories, all the clues, all the tireless searching, we're left right back where we started, with one fundamental question just hanging in the cold New Hampshire air. What happened to Maura Murray? It's this haunting combination of a relatable personal crisis and a profound, impossible mystery that keeps us all asking.